What's up, guys? This is Fast Friday, and I am John Vickers, owner of Explosive Performance Academy, where we help athletes maximize their athleticism through speed, strength, power, and multi-directional skill without gimmicky exercises, without gimmicky equipment, and now we're going to help you profit off from your NIL. So I was working this camp today, and I'm working it tomorrow, and it's a basketball camp, okay? And I was working with some middle schoolers, okay, So and even potentially younger. So we're looking at pretty young athletes. So I asked these guys a question. I asked them how many of them have, to raise their hand, how many of them have hurt their ankles before? And the majority of them raise their ankles or raise their hands. Then I asked them how many have hurt their knees before? Again, the majority of them raise their hands. Then I asked them how many have hurt their hips before? Again, a large number of them had hurt their hips. And these are just middle schoolers. And the thing about this is these kids are young. So they haven't had a ton of experience. They haven't had a ton of playing experience. One thing it tells me is that injuries happen, right? Injuries happen, it's part of the game. But also it tells me that there is a reason why these athletes are getting injured. And typically it's because of lack of preparation. When I say lack of preparation, it's lack of strength in the joint throughout the entire range of motion when it comes to the joint. That's when injuries occur. When an athlete lands in a weird position that they've never been in, and they have there's a weak spot in that range of motion, that's when injuries occur. Especially bad injuries like ACLs, torn labrums in the shoulders, things like that. There's some type of compensation in that joint where it doesn't allow you to manage full range of motion and strength within that full range of motion. And this is an issue, and this is something that I didn't necessarily understand until somewhat recently, over the last couple months. And I've actually started implementing it in a lot of our athletes training programs, and it has made a huge difference for them, not only when it comes to their performance, but also their lack of injuries, I guess is the best way to put it. Their limitation on injuries. No athlete wants to be injured, right? So we want to make sure that our athletes are as prepared as possible. So what are we going to do that? First of all, we're going to do what are called C.A.R.S, okay? Controlled articular rotations. These are where there is control throughout a joint, okay? Throughout a joint. So C.A.R.S are, if we're looking at this joint, this is a joint. We can say it's a wrist joint. We can say it's an ankle joint, a shoulder joint, a knee joint. This is a joint, okay? So it's a circle, right? So a C.A.R would be, if we're just talking about our wrist, it's a full circle of the wrist, not moving anywhere but the wrist. So full circle, full range of motion. Anytime there's a spot where there's a weakness, okay, that's where, so for me, like if I go this way, my hand is shaking. So I have to try to increase that strength in that portion of my wrist. What happens is your joint is like a wheel, right? So it's like a wheel. So the wheel has spokes. Okay, let's just say this is our wheel right here. These are the spokes. I'm going to even add a couple more spokes here, just so you can kind of understand this. So this is a wheel, this is a joint, a spoke that is strong. Okay, we're strong throughout the entire spoke, or throughout the entire wheel. Each of these spokes keep that wheel strong. Now, on a bicycle tire, if we break a spoke here, this tire is now, or this wheel is now in danger of being broken. Same thing happens here in sport. Say it's an ankle. We land one specific way. This part of the ankle where that broken spoke is, this is where the injury is going to occur. Right here. We don't want an injury to occur in there. We want to try to keep this spoke strong. We want to stay there. We want to keep the entire wheel strong. Now what happens when the injury occurs, oftentimes we see this part of the joint lose range of motion. Okay? Because at this point after the injury, the joint, the muscles, the brain-body connection doesn't know how to get through this injured range of motion. So it has to relearn it. This is where C.A.R.S come into play. So C.A.R.S, when done properly, helps repair that spoke or repair that wheel so it's back into the circle, and then keeps it structurally sound. But without a specific special sauce, that injury could happen again. Okay? And what we do, so C.A.R.S are going to help keep the structure of that joint strong or foundationally strong. But what we need is we need to do what are called P.A.I.L.S rails. Okay, P.A.I.L.S rails. I'll write it down for you. P.A.I.L.S rails. This is where we increase that range of motion and we increase the strength through that range of motion. So it's something as simple as like pushing down on a joint to make sure it's strong and then increasing your range of motion. Pushing down in a joint to make sure it's strong and then increasing range of motion. As we increase that range of motion, we're increasing the strength. So now we start to build back that strength, build back that spoke. So we increase the strength, the spoke starts to come back. So now we're back to having a strong wheel with strong spokes. So when an injury occurs, the spoke is either broken or it's not there. It was never there. And then we start to lose the structure of that wheel. When we increase the range of motion through C.A.R.S, and then we add strength in layers through P.A.I.L.S rails, that's when a joint becomes fundamentally strong and injuries are less, there's less chance of injury after that occurs. So if you want to stay healthy, C.A.R.S with P.A.I.L.S rails are the way to go. Getting strong in the weight room, doing squats, deadlifts, benches, that type of stuff, extremely important. But if we get stronger, if we're broken here, but we're getting stronger here, at the other spokes, we're just avoiding this potential for injury here. So we need to make sure not only are we squatting, lunging, benching, push-ups, deadlifting, that type of stuff, pull-ups, but we have to make sure that the joint is fundamentally strong so it can take impact and it can be stronger through the entire range of motion for a squat, a deadlift, a bench, a pull-up, that type of stuff. So as we increase that range of motion, as we get back to full range of motion in those joints, we also have to strengthen those joints through PAILS rails, which helps increase the range of motion while layering the strength that you are putting into that joint. I hope this helps you. If you have any questions, go ahead, put them in the comment section, and make sure that you like and subscribe to our channel, and you share this as well. This is free to you, so just share it with somebody that you feel this could potentially help. Have a great one. See you next week.